now this is the story all about how we're about to review Aladdin upside down. Just playing. Aladdin is directed by Guy Ritchie and it stars Will Smith, Naomi Scott, and among others. And this is the one of the many. This is the live action.
One of many Disney films we're getting live
action remakes of. That's based on the original 1992 animated film from Disney. And basically it tells the story of a young thief named Aladdin who wants to pretty much try to smooth the princess of where was it? Arabia.
Yeah.
And basically he gets caught into a scheme by this Arabian named Jafar who wants him to go inside this cave that has all the like basically all the gold and diamonds and everything to get this lamp, genie lamp. And basically once he gets there he realizes that there's a magical lamp that brings out the genie that, if you remember from the original cartoon, was Rob Williams, and this time it's Will Smith, and pretty much him and the genie go on misadventures in trying to impress the princess while having to avoid Jafar. So now here's some.
I don't think you can spoil this film.
Yeah,
if you haven't seen the fucking '92 version, then you're fucked. Then you deserve to be spoiled.
Yeah. So here's some backstory. Now, ever since the last few years, we've been getting this trend where we're seeing a lot of Disney live action remakes. We've had the Lion King coming up later this year. We've had The Jungle Book. We've had Maleficent, Dumbo, Alice in Wonderland. Well, to an extent in some movies. And basically, the original 1992 version, I remember growing up falling with, and it also holds as like one of my all-time favorite animated films. Yeah. I haven't seen that movie in pretty a long time, but I remember growing up. Even looking back on it, it still holds up from what I've watched.
And then even Return to Jafar.
Yeah, I haven't seen the sequel, surprisingly.
I had the combo pack on the little. It was like, remember whenever you had like VHS as the big old pack, the white thing?
Yeah, I remember that.
And it's big and it's plastic. You open up. I had both of those and those.
Yeah, the original '92 version was not only a great classic in its own right, but one of my biggest highlights of that film was Robin Williams as the genie. And him alone really carried that movie together. And while, from what I understood, he wasn't in the sequel, but he was in the third film where he came back because he had some dispute rights over with Disney after the first movie came out. So for a while, they couldn't get the rights for him to be in the sequel.
Yeah, I've never seen the third one.
Yeah, the third one is where he actually came back in.
What's that one called?
Aladdin's, I forgot the last one was called. Arabian Nights, I think was. Because The Return of Jafar was the second one. Yeah. The third one was called Arabian Nights, I believe.
Okay.
So I think that's what it was called. But anyway, he came back for that one. The original film, I still feel like it's definitely one to look back on because the animation it was in the period of the Renaissance period of Disney movies. And just like the story, the way it captured a lot of the animation and everything, I think looking back on it, it still holds up.
It does, and I love the capture of the like a Arabian, Arabic-y, kind of Saudi Arabia, like Middle Eastern look to it.
Yeah, and then you had the villain in that too, Jafar in the cartoon was he was not only charismatic, but he captured a lot of what motivation was very spot on with it.
Yeah. And he liked to play with his prey, too, in that one.
And so, in the last few years, we've been seeing this trend where Disney has pretty much been remaking their own properties in terms of the live-action form, which I don't disagree that that's a bad thing. I think that there is potential with some of these. I just feel like, after looking back on a lot of these, it feels like they're really just taking the same story, but put it in live action form.
Yeah.
Now, I did see a couple years ago, we saw Beauty and the Beast, which I actually thought was a pretty great remake of the original film.
If you're going to talk about that, Dumbo, Aladdin, I'm not adding Maleficent or Alice in Wonderland to this equation.
The straight up remake.
Just a straight up remake.
The Jungle Book and all.
Jungle Book and all them. I will say that Beauty and the Beast is probably the best one. Because not only that, because the 3D was so good, the visuals were so good, about everything was good in that, aside from some things. The other ones have been pretty much mediocre, because they've been so spot on and carbon
copying verbatim, basically.
Yeah.
And so my expectations for this one coming out was a little skeptical, because from the first trailer we got, I was a little worried at first because from the first trailer we had where it showed well, no, it was actually the teaser trailer where we actually got to see Jafar. And the moment I seen him, I was like, okay, you cannot tell me that's fucking Jafar.
If you guys remember in the cartoon, he was more like an elder, a guy with a long beard, probably say 50s.
Yeah.
Probably mixed with that. He was dark. I mean, not saying the new guy ain't dark or anything, but he had that very Arabic-y with a couple examples actually. If you saw John Wick 3, there's a scene where a guy like that. And another one is if you saw The Mummy from '99, they had that guy in the all black that would come in all the Mummy films and help out Brendan Fraser.
Hooded Fear?
Yeah, he looked very Jafar-y. I used to actually call him Jafar in that movie. And I will say that that's what I really liked in the cartoon stuff. I'm going to give my cons in this one. Yeah, when he said the trailer, when we saw it, the guy didn't have the figuration.
He didn't have the voice, and he
was kind of young.
Yeah,
and he was really young. I'm like, yeah, that. And then we get to the Will Smith, and I will say that I'm going to get into my pros here and cons here in a little bit, but I'm just giving you my speculation of the trailer before seeing the film. I was on board the Nope train when Will Smith first popped up. Because that shit I thought was cringeworthy, and I thought he was going to be a try too hard.
Yeah, where he was basically carbon copying Robin Williams and everything. And then when we first saw the trailers, when he showed up as Genie, I was like, ooh, that CGI looked fucking bad.
And I actually started getting worried thinking that we're going to have our first potential, actually, because Dumbo and all them, it's been mediocre, but it has not been bad. None of them hadn't been bad yet.
Yeah.
And I thought this one was going to be the first one to do it. I'm like, oh my God. So, and it was funny because we saw these trailers and they were really good in 3D. My issue with this film was the fact that go see this movie in 2D, the new one, because the 3D, this is the biggest fuck you marketing ever, because we went and saw this trailer I don't know how many times in 3D,
and it
looked fucking great, but there was literally zero pop out.
Yeah.
Zero. I wasted my money on fucking 3D.
Yeah.
So don't see this in 3D. See it in 2D.
Yeah, it's kind of like what we said with Pokemon Detective Pikachu.
Oh shit! Even that movie had more 3D than
true.
This is the non-3D.
But basically, going into it, we were already pretty much skeptical as was, and then after finally seeing it, I could say that it was better expected for sure. It has problems. Is it as great as the original? No, not even close. But as far as
not even Beauty and Beast doesn't even touch the fucking movies.
Not at all.
They're never gonna beat them. This one actually surprised me a little bit. I actually was expecting to be downright bad, and it actually was a lot better than expected. But there's still
things that still has a lot of problems with. But to get my pros out of the way, I can honestly say that one of my biggest highlights, the most surprisingly, was Will Smith. Yeah, like when he's minus the CGI, when he's by himself and he's actually doing his own thing, and even some of the musical numbers he has, I had a blast with.
I will say that when I said I was in part of the Nope train, I actually walked out kind of surprised. I walked out saying, you know what? I actually liked Will Smith in this. I won't compare. He's not Robin Williams,
but he brings his own take on it.
He doesn't even touch a hair in Robin Williams in this part. Robin Williams blows him out of the fucking water. But I'm not here to compare the two. I will say that Will Smith did his part better than expected. We'll get into a con about his character also later. That's more visually, but I will say that he brought his own game to the taste, and I actually enjoyed his character. Another thing I will say, and aside from one character I'm going to get into big time on the con department, I will say that the guy that plays Aladdin was spot the fuck on. Jasmine was spot the fuck on. Everything, like the carpet, everything, all of them were really good.
Even the monkey.
The monkey was great. The story is pretty much kind of the same. It's a little different, though, because somebody did complain something about earlier. I don't think I really would say it's not a con. Somebody was bitching about this, how like in the cartoon, how it opens like the first 10, 15 minutes, it was actually in the credits in this one.
Yeah.
So just to get out of the way, so you don't watch a spot on thing, which I didn't have an issue with.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Because I don't really need to see scene for fucking scene.
Yeah, but from the way that they are faithful to the original film, I at least appreciate that, and the way that the story kind of flows with the Gene character. I was still on board with it and everything.
And he actually had chemistry with Aladdin.
with Aladdin. The boy that played Aladdin, I thought he was really good, and I even enjoyed the musical numbers.
The music numbers were great
for the most part. There are some musical numbers where they're just kind of like drive-bys where they come and go. So
my only musical number I had an issue with was the post-credit one where they were trying to have fun and do a modern song.
Yeah,
something where they were doing that rap shit. I'm like, you should have not done that.
Yeah.
I get it's into the movie, but now you're modernizing it with a kind of a rap R&B feel.
Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly.
No,
but
don't do that.
For the most part, the musical numbers, that they had a lot of energy to them, and it's great to see them in live action form, especially the renditions of A Friend Like Me and Arabian Nights and all that. I thought
and A Whole New World.
Yeah, those were great.
Yes.
But some of the other ones that you remember from the original one, I felt like the way that they kind of come in. This is kind of more a fault to where the direction part lies. They come in to a point where it just they're there, and then I just didn't really feel nothing out of it. Like I wasn't really enlightened with it. I just thought that they were kind of like just drive-bys, basically.
It was basically to cover the because of this is where it's hard to like remakes. It comes off of I fulfilled that famous part in that movie.
Yeah.
So we carbon copied it, and with Guy Ritchie, which by the way has a pretty bad track record, especially with King Arthur. His editing becomes a problem in this film too, also because when they do have something where they're kind of going their own story, then they realize, oh shit, we got to do A Whole New World real quick, and it just abruptly just pops in, and then they start talking her.
The way it's structured, feels weird.
Yeah,
and also
that's a con, but I will say another pro would be costume design.
Yeah, that was great. The way and I also do appreciate that for the most part that they were able to get a genuinely good cast for to play like in this Arabian world and everything,
and not whitewash it.
Pretty much. And I will admit that
because if you look at the names, they're majority Middle Eastern people in this movie, so it's kind of cool they did that.
Exactly. Yeah. So now this is pretty much where we get to our cons, and
let me say this. Please let me say this one. I'm gonna get my biggest fucking issue out of this. This is the biggest con I have with this film: the casting of Jafar. This guy was a wrong fucking choice. And not with that, even on the writing standpoint, it fails. But the character, the guy who plays him, fucking is terrible. He's young, and the guy brings no charisma to the character. He's one dimensioned. He's boring.
Yeah, he doesn't.
It's not just, and it is the guy who plays him is also an issue because he's not a good actor. He didn't act really well in this. He overreacted on a lot of his scenes, which came off to me as kind of painful. But I also blame Guy Ritchie and the writer too because they made him so boring. Oh, I just want to take over the world.
Yeah,
that's it.
And that's another factor too. He doesn't come across as menacing.
No,
he's very, most of the time he's just, standing there in the fucking background.
And not only that, in the original Aladdin, that snake plays a vital role throughout the story. This one, they have two scenes where he uses it, and then they get ready to be hypnotized, and then they stop, and then the third time it's broken. So it's like, the thing is rendered useless. It's used bigger in the movie.
Well, and because if I remember correctly, in the original cartoon, he actually turned into a snake, from what I remember in the original animated one. So this one, they were just like, no, just take the snake as a fucking staff.
All this stuff, Well, he had a staff in that one too.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying the original film, he actually turned into a snake.
They left that. No, they just leave that completely out, and that's where the problem is. He's one dimension. He's just one thing.
Where he wants to take over Arabia.
Yeah, Arabia. That's all he wants to do. Yes, I know. Oh, what other motivation should he have?
Well, because in the original film, he at least had a side to him that was not only charming, but he also had, he had a likability to him too.
You know what he was kind of like a cartoon version of Mark Wahlberg in Fear, where he can snake your way into liking him and then grab you by the fuck like that. He's really like charming and all that, and then he's trickster.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And in this one, he's like legitly just, I want to be a bad guy.
He's just so generic.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, he was the most boring fucking character.
Exactly.
And he was supposed to be important in the story. So yeah, I had a lot of fucking problems with it. He was the worst fucking thing. The only bad of overall everything. Yeah.
And the other problem I have too is that while the film, takes itself with the story beat for beat from the original film, this kind of goes back to our cons where it feels like the story isn't really diving. It feels like some of the stuff that we see in the beginning is kind of rushed out, and they don't really develop much with. With Jasmine's motivation and everything, where she wants to see new worlds and stuff.
It's not
becoming a princess and everything.
Well, she is a princess. Well, she wants to become the first woman sultan.
Right, that's what I meant.
Yeah. It's basically trying to be like the woman empowerment thing.
Right, but they don't really dive much into it because they really stretch the timeline out, the time of the film out way too long.
Guy Ritchie, and this comes back to King Arthur, when he did King Arthur, which was also a fucking big problem. He doesn't know how to use his time. And with this film, again, Guy Ritchie brings us a 2-hour and 10-minute film or 2-hour and 20-minute film on some other films he's done, and he uses that time to no advantage. It's a bunch of fucking nothing. It's just flat.
Yeah.
There's nothing build up. There's nothing. How can you have 2 hours and not be able to build anything up? I will say this, Guy Ritchie, man, you're on kind of quite a bad track record. This movie ain't bad, like we're saying. It's still a decent overall, it's still for the most part enjoyable. It's just, and it's a step up it's a step up from King Arthur. But I feel like if there's any flaws to anything of these movies, I think it's Guy Ritchie's the issue.
Well, that, and also, like we were saying earlier, with the musical numbers, the way that they just kind of come in.
Yeah.
It seems to me like that he's more of a director that's more good for action films, drama movies, things like that.
I get he's trying to do this new
kind of. He's trying to branch out more musical kind of numbers or kind of genre. But I felt like he just wasn't really on par with
what a musical is.
Yeah, basically. And so that's another factor. And also, we got to get to this now. The biggest other thing I have is the CGI.
All right, we said Will Smith earlier, if you guys recall. We said we praised his performance, and that is still a solid performance.
Yeah.
But look, when he's the genie. Yeah, we're talking about they might have wanted to pull a Sonic just on that scene and go back and render him a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was about as bad as what we all laughed at the trailers. Yeah. Because remember, there was a big thing when they showed the trailers. That was a big deal. People were making fun of, and he actually still looked like that.
And it's funny because the rest of the CGI they use in some of the scenes, like with the magic carpet, and even to an extent with Abu, the monkey, I actually thought, surprisingly, they didn't look too bad.
Yeah, I don't see why those were so perfectly rendered to the point they looked real.
I mean,
and the genie looked like fucking shit.
Looked like a Smurf fucked up.
Yeah, Smurf. I mean, it was it was kind of cringy.
Yeah, pretty much. And also I felt like the movie it just it takes itself into having a lot of beat for beat moments from the original film, which is not a bad thing. It's just that when when the scenes are coming, it becomes a little too if you really compare this much to the original film, it becomes a little bit too jarring to really go from scene to scene doing the same shit, because they have lines that are from beat for beat from the original film, and it just feels like they really could have done something on their own level.
Yeah,
But
which they do like sometimes, but it's really nothing special.
right.
But other than that, that's all I could really say about it. With that being said, I'm gonna give this film a average Joe in the Film Freaks meter.
I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna go with average Joe on the Film Freaks meter as well. And for those of you who've also seen the new Aladdin and also the original Aladdin and the sequels from Disney, let us know in the comments below what you thought about them. And if you like what you see here, you can feel free to like and subscribe to our channel. And check out some other reviews here and on our website at filmfreaks.com. And we'll be seeing you in our next review. We'll see you later.